Hello, David Blythe, Paranormal NZ. Alec Newell is already an international UFO sensation on YouTube, etc. Alec Newell wrote a book called Co-Evolution, and it is currently in a 3rd or 4th edition. Alec's story is extraordinary. He was abducted for 10 days and was taken to an alien planet where he interacted with an alien civilization.
I was born in Auckland City, but my parents lived in Papakura. When I left high school, I was fascinated with sailing, so I got an apprenticeship in sailmaking. Because to me, racing yachts was just the end-all to be-all. But building my own boats and then making my own sails and sailing the boats, and I just loved it. I could not get enough of it. My whole life revolved around sailing. In Papakura, the area that I lived in, there was a church at either end of our street. I walked to school as a 5 and 6-year-old on my own, but again, I said very limited supervision in those days. And there was a council park, and I used to walk past this park and there'd be seagulls there. And when this strange light would appear that sort of attracted my attention, everything else around me seemed to stop. There'd be a seagull there, and normally you'd walk towards the seagull, it would run away. And I'd walking towards the seagull because it's between this light and me, and it wouldn't move, and it didn't move, it was sort of like frozen. Was time stopped, or was my time sped up? And then out of this light would come 2 beings that were small but glowing and pixie-like or fairy, or no bigger than me anyway as a 5-year-old child, so I wasn't afraid of them. They weren't bigger than me or scary in any way. And they said, you're going to school, we wish you to come to our school. They gave me a device which was like a little triangular pyramid. I called them a triangle box. And the next minute I was in a place that wasn't the park anymore. And I was with other children of my sort of age. And I don't know whether all of them were human either. I think some of them were a bit strange looking. I played with these other children. We were lifting things up and like with our minds and floating and doing all sorts of weird stuff, and heaven knows what else they were telling me that I didn't remember. I believe there could well be another civilization in another either dimensional plane or in a physical plane within our world, and they may have technology which to us seems like magic, no different to a television or a cell phone 1,000 years ago or even 100 years ago, that they have ability to manifest out of a beam of light anywhere they like. That's not far away from probably where we are. Give us another 100, 500,000 years, we might be doing exactly that. Beam me up, Scotty.
The next chapter in Alec's life was in 1989 when he had an extraordinary experience involving a car accident and a whole huge period of missing time.
That event wasn't in my memory as such. The car in 10 days had gone. It took me ages to figure that out. Several days to figure out even that I'd lost time, let alone what had happened. But immediately, even it was building up in my dreams, and these, vivid dreams were appearing every night, and it felt, and something was sort of telling me I should be recording this. And this is where the co-evolution story started, with me recording those dreams in 1989 after the 10 missing days. So immediately the book was being written, and it was being written without my thought. I didn't plan it. It told me what to write. And that was where I would almost remember going to sleep, and I'd be somewhere else. Immediately I would be asleep. I'd be somewhere else. I'd drifted somewhere. I'm almost like zipped through something, and I felt like I was zipping through something, traveling. and then I'm in a different place. And I felt, I explained it very succinctly, in a desert-like environment, you know, and there on a hill, looking down at looked like a little mud hut village, and my desire was, the need seemed to be, I should go down there and find out what all that's about. And that's where I met another family. And they just desired to connect with me and explain their situation. So that's where that all started. Because this family that I met with, a lot of them were like what I call the elders, not beautiful in any way, shape or form, like a wrinkled prune, you know. But that's another hybrid version of, you know, the new generation is different, more human-like. But I can't help what they look like. They just are, and that's all there is to it. And I think, put it this way, if you were going to try and integrate one species with another, if they want a male to interact with a female, they're not going to present some ugly, distorted, horrible creature that looks like some praying mantis insect or whatever, even though in actual fact it might be one of those, but it's putting on a guise that is appealing to us. How much of my desire to see that is influencing what they look like is anyone's guess. I'm not naive enough to say that my desires are not transposed to them so they could give me back what I need. If you read in detail, you will find I never said their skin was blue. I only said they had a bodysuit that felt like skin, because I wore one too, and they're blue. But that came off when we got to their planet. We wore a gold one. But no, it wasn't blue all the time. That was some dimensional or space need, necessity for traveling interdimensionally or whatever. It was some sort of conduit. It was a very high-tech device. It was a piece of engineering. They gave me another body, by the way. Even though it was a replica of what I had, it wasn't exactly my old body. It was in storage somewhere. And this was something that could relate to their reality. So therefore, all of their technology ran through me. So I was perceiving things much different. And when I got plonked back into the old body, it was all back blank again. The initial thought was, don't come back. Stay with us. Don't come back to Earth. Now that you've been with us, you'll be marked, you'll be sought after, you'll be put upon. And if you do come back and help us, you'll be even more put upon. And so they were telling me, you go back to Earth, or you go back to your original life, and your life will be hell. Do you want to put up with that? And stubborn old me, for some stupid reason, said, look, I'll give it a go. I'm pretty confident that I can survive this. Exactly what I was trying to interact with was that type of aerial or other higher aspects of it and bigger aspects of it, which were planted around our homeland, especially down the centre of the North Island and on the top of the South Island. And I said, look, I've got to deactivate these devices, because what they're doing is they're drawing negative energy here. And I said, and the whole reason we're having history goes round in circles. One war, let's have another war, let's have another war. Haven't we learned anything? No, let's have another war. Let's get a bigger war. Where the hell's this negativity coming from? And I was told where it was coming from. And I was told there's entities and beings and humans on this planet that want it here, or have drawn up an alliance with it. And their technology is ushering it in. And right here in New Zealand. So once again, it was no chance affair that I was chosen. In some way I'm related to them, yes, but I live here. Perfect choice. I met this really interesting guy called Bruce Cathy, and he'd just published a book, and Duncan Rhodes at Nexus had published it for him. I'd had some problems with some devices these people from other dimensional realms had given me to activate here to help free our world of some of the suppressive shit going on. And I couldn't activate it. So I went to see Bruce, and we had private conversations that were very private because they were sensitive. Like, nobody would give away top secret information if you were inventing some new device, some technology, which is exactly what I had in my hand, if you like. Technology that hadn't been seen on this planet before. You know, that's the sort of thing he wanted to see because it sort of confirmed everything he had suspicions about. I don't think he'd met any dimensional creatures before, you know, but he'd certainly seen their craft. We're talking about the pyrite crystals, which were these were only precursors. These were hunting devices. These were what I used to find the hot spots that the other negative forces were using to set up their transmitters from. I'd just drive past one and it would get warm in my hand. So it was a technical device. I didn't understand how it worked. It was very simple. You hold this, it gets warm, you're close. The hotter it gets, the closer you are. That's all it was. But you had to be in the vicinity. I had not only tracking devices, but I'm quite sure the right word to explain, something to shut them down, shut their transmitters down, interference devices, we called them. I mean, I'm not naive enough to know I'm not possibly being used, and I just do it using my own judgment. Am I on the right side here? Because that thought went through my mind. Am I opposing the human race here, or am I trying to help it? Because these beings were not human. They convinced me that they had our best interests in heart, and that their active involvement in this planet and wanting to migrate here would be even more so. If there's a negative influence on this planet which is making it difficult for us to live here in peace, it was affecting them the same way. The blues, you know, the people that I've been interacting with at another higher dimensional level are expecting something very special to happen here. And when they say soon, time doesn't seem to be relevant when you step out of this domain. Soon could be like that, or it could be like 100 years from now, because it's just soon. It's just impossible to give a definition of soon. But there's a whole ring of spaceships watching this planet, invisibly or whatever the case may be, expecting something to happen soon.